welcome to the TMC Newsroom. My name is Rich Tehrani. Thanks for watching us today. We're at the Cloud Expo Show 2011 at the Jacob Javits Center in Manhattan. On our program is Jordan Braunstein. He is the principal of Visual Integrator. Jordan, welcome to our show.
Thank you, Rich.
So Visual Integrator, what do you do?
We are an advisory and strategy firm, and one of our offerings is cloud advisory services that we work with customers to help them build their cloud architecture. So we're pretty much the only advisory firm out here. If you go and you look on the floor, it's all a bunch of product vendors, right? And one of the concerns we had with cloud is we feel it's all about the architecture, not all about the product that you need to buy, because there's a lot of important aspects to building and designing your cloud. And so what we've learned is, unfortunately, there's a lot of risk in going to the cloud. We're big evangelists of the cloud, but we feel there's a lot of risk, and a lot of customers don't know how to navigate through that risk and how to build their systems appropriate for the cloud, how to migrate to the cloud, how to build a roadmap into the cloud, how to build their cloud strategy. They really struggle with all these key aspects of the cloud. And the way it is, if you kind of walk around this conference, you'll hear a lot of product pitches out there, and we feel, hey, you know what? We don't want our customers to get into the syndrome of what we call spaghetti. There's a big problem out there. There's a lot of spaghetti.
Talk to me about spaghetti.
There's a lot of spaghetti out there. And if you don't want heartburn and you want to get into the right heartburn relief, we have an anti-spaghetti type of offering. The spaghetti is the fact that most clouds look like they're a bunch of point-to-point integrations. Nobody knows where the data is going to or from. Nobody knows how to do the security. Nobody knows how to do federated search workflows. The list goes on. And actually at our booth, we have a cloud architecture checklist, which is a poster that we've been giving out that customers can use, put up, and understand an itemized way of how to avoid spaghetti. So there's all this risk of spaghetti. And how do you navigate and unravel the spaghetti?
And the spaghetti really reduces efficiency, it reduces security, it reduces management ability, right? There are a lot of things that spaghetti does, right?
It prohibits good governance, it prohibits good manageability, it prohibits companies from being flexible with their cloud. Because if you just throw your spaghetti into the cloud, how are you going to manage it? How are you going to know where your systems are integrating the information? How are you going to know how to make rapid changes with your systems? How are you going to know, how not to make this a risky type of system because of not knowing the information and not knowing where everything is or where it's located and so forth. So that's the problem, is we've always said garbage in, garbage out. And if you put your garbage back into the cloud, then you're going to have the same kind of problems you have in your own data center.
So let's say that I'm a company that has already taken my spaghetti and thrown it into the cloud. And without a doubt, even if you start with an organized system, if you don't take care of it over time, you tend to add on pieces which turn it into, I guess, a less organized, less easily managed solution. How do you help a company once they've already gone down that path of, let's say they've just got a system which is not as organized as it should be or as optimized as it should be?
Yeah, so that's a good question because in my eyes, an architecture is always a living, breathing type of thing. You don't just build architecture, deliver it, and then it goes away as a static thing. It's always something that's always going to continuously evolve. So if a customer already has built something and they brought their spaghetti to the cloud, how do we help them unravel that spaghetti, so to speak? Well, we would start with an assessment and start looking at individual pieces, individual segments of their architecture and say, what can we unravel first? What are the high priority items? So let's take maybe data integration is a big problem. I've got multiple clouds, I've got a hybrid cloud, and none of this is cohesively integrated, and I can't get my information from point A to point B and knowing what's going on. So we would address an item like that. Security or federated search are just other examples as we go down our architectural assessment list. We've got a pre-built blueprint or template for this, and we would walk a customer through it, assess their maturity, and evaluate it to some of the leading practices we know out there, and then come up with a prioritized approach to trying to fix that. It's not going to be one day we flip the switch and now you don't have spaghetti. It's got to be incremental, and it's got to be in, bite-sized chunks, so to speak, and that would be the way we would approach it.
Now, do you get down to the level of coding when you talk about spaghetti? Because there could also be uh, challenges where organizations have disparate programs running on disparate virtual machines that even do similar things or sometimes unrelated things, and it just becomes difficult to manage. I mean, to what level do you help a company unravel its complexity?
We have looked at source code and saying, hey, there's certain design patterns that you could probably follow that would have made this a lot less spaghetti-like. Examples include, separation of concerns. It's a design pattern. Mediation is a design pattern. Loose coupling, and so forth. There's all these different design patterns, and if we can actually sometimes look at your source code and kind of look at the complexity of your source code and say, you know what? If you had built this a little bit different, you wouldn't have this kind of point-to-point, hard-coded, tightly coupled type of integration that you built here. We can loosely couple it, modularize it, segment it out.
Almost abstract?
Abstract is a technique as well, where we can abstract the code and build layers, taxonomies of services on top of the code, so that you are basically providing a higher abstracted level service, maybe a business service that is more valuable or more consumable across the enterprise, and ultimately more reusable. That's kind of a service-oriented technique, and we are big believers as well that service orientation is a good step towards integrating your cloud as well.
Now, is it fair to say that you see competitors, much larger companies like the IBMs and maybe the HPs of the world that have consulting arms that do somewhat similar things for companies? Is that a fair statement?
They may or they may not. We haven't really seen too many competitors that have the level of expertise that we have the level of qualifications, the level of background that we have, and so forth. And you take an IBM or an HP of the world, and I'm not trying to throw dirt on them necessarily, but they're always going to be promoting some of their product line. We're very product, technology, vendor agnostic.
Okay.
We're not going to push a specific vendor onto you. We're going to choose the right vendor who's the right fit for the capability and requirements that you need in order to fulfill your business problem. So we get approached by
and that's important, because
it is
being independent.
I've had so many vendors in the last 2 days approach me about join our alliance program, be the system integrator of us, and I'm saying, I'll be happy to join your alliance program, but I'm not going to promote your product. I'm going to really evaluate your product when the time is right. In fact, I'm going to be the guy who beats you over the head with a wet noodle to make sure your product works the right way for my customer who I'm advising to buy your product. So I think that's really important as well.
Have you had lunch yet, by the way? Because there's a lot of talk of noodles and spaghetti. So I'm just throwing that out there.
I have. They've been feeding us pretty well out here for the most part.
I'm just teasing. But that makes a lot of sense. You do have to
Yeah.
be careful. You want to appear as independent as you can be.
Yeah.
And some of those two companies that I mentioned are, I mean, IBM and HP both have services which they sell in the cloud, which actually, I guess the customers may be concerned that they would be pushing their own products.
Yeah, and we also have a service offering that no other consulting firm in the world has. So let me tell you about that.
Sure, thanks.
We have a subscription-based advisory service, and you will not find that anywhere with any other any other consultancy. And what we do with that, Rich, is basically you can buy a set number of hours from us per month with a practitioner-level cloud architect. We're not talking some ivory tower academic guy. We're talking about a practitioner who's actually built things for live production customers. We have this subscription model. You can buy a set number of hours from us per month, and he'll spend time with you on a month-to-month basis. So what we saw is say, hey, the product vendors can't have all the fun with this subscription model in the cloud. We're bringing it to the consulting side as well. And that's really unique. If there's another consulting firm out there who's doing subscription-based advisory services, I'd like to know, because I feel we're the only one out there who's providing that.
It's great.
And we have hundreds of customers who are signing up for that because they see the value. Wow, I only need 5 to 10 hours per month of your advisory time.
Sure.
I don't need to invest 3 or 6 months worth of work. So that's really, we feel, is a big differentiation point from some of those other system integrators as well.
So Jordan, what's next for the company?
What's what?
Next for the company.
The next for the company is growth. As I mentioned, we're onboarding a lot of customers, and we are really taking this advisory model, the subscription model, out to more and more customers. So we're growing, we're hiring as well. So we're looking for additional subject matter experts and architects. Basically, that's really the next incremental step, is basically helping these customers with the cloud. The other big thing that I think is a big problem with cloud, we're all kind of pioneers right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's walking around and saying, how many times have you done this before?
Right.
And normally people are saying either none, once, twice. This isn't like ERP or database where we've got 15 different success stories that we can look back on. And so what we're doing is just trying to do as many implementations, as much architecture as we can, and much evangelism as we can, so that the cloud grows and grows, and that more and more adoption ultimately occurs. We're all kind of in this together as pioneers, so we're really trying to work together with a lot of these other firms. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks for being on the show, Jordan. Great to see you.
Thank you for your time.